In a world that seems to reward loud opinions and quick reactions, there exists a quiet contradiction: the people who remain unshakably calm. While everyone else is caught in the frantic scramble of reaction, they stand still. Not because they don't feel the chaos, but because they have learned to hear something beneath it, a subtle, persistent hum of reality that most miss in the noise. This isn't indifference. This is a profound psychological shift, a remaking of the self. And the story of how someone becomes that anchored, that composed, reveals a secret not about avoiding emotion, but about mastering its deepest language, about becoming a fluent translator of the heart's most turbulent storms. That sense of calm you notice in them feels almost like a presence, a gravity. It's in the steady gaze that meets chaos without flinching, the measured breath that seems to sync with a slower, more ancient rhythm, the thoughtful pause that stretches time itself, creating a buffer zone between event and response. You look at them during a crisis and wonder, almost suspiciously, how are they so okay? The surface seems simple. They don't yell, don't panic, don't rush to prove a point. But the truth is, this calm is not a surface trait, it's a depth. It's the visible tip of an iceberg forged in the cold, dark waters of experience. They weren't born this way, they became. If you could trace the timeline of their inner life, you would likely find chapters of profound turbulence.
They were once the overthinkers, lying awake at 3 a.m, mentally rewriting a conversation from a dozen angles. They were the pleasers, sanding down their own edges, bending themselves into impossible shapes to meet external expectations. They were the controllers, white-knuckling life's steering wheel, micromanaging every detail, convinced that with enough effort and worry, they could dictate every outcome, avoid every pain. And life, with its gentle cruelty, taught them the same lesson, over and over, in different classrooms of loss, failure, and unpredictability. That you cannot force the ocean to be still. You can only learn to float, to adjust your buoyancy, to trust the water even when it swells. This is the first fundamental transformation, the tectonic shift from resistance to acceptance. It's not a passive surrender, but a conscious, often painfully earned decision to stop fighting the unwinnable war against reality itself. They tried to control the uncontrollable until they were exhausted by the futile effort. And in that exhaustion, a new, quieter understanding was born. That panic doesn't hasten a solution, it clouds the mind. That arguing rarely changes a heart, it hardens positions. That rushing, born of anxiety, often leads to wrong turns and deeper ditches. So they stopped. They began to conserve a precious resource that most of us spend wildly, their focused energy. They redirected it from controlling externals to cultivating internals. But what is happening inside their mind in that critical moment of crisis when every instinct screams to react? Neuroscience gives us a clue. Deep in the brain, the amygdala, our ancient alarm bell, still fires. Danger, threat, uncertainty. The physiological cascade begins, the quickened pulse, the tightened gut. For the calm person, that primal signal is received, acknowledged, but it is not the only voice in the room, not the conductor of the orchestra. Through repeated practice, sometimes intentional through meditation or therapy, often forced by relentless circumstance, they have consciously strengthened the neural pathway to the prefrontal cortex. That's the rational, thoughtful, planning center, the seat of executive function. They've built and reinforced a neurological pause button. This pause is everything. It's the sacred space between the spark of feeling and the flame of action. In that silent, expansive gap, true choice and agency reside. Where someone else might fire back an insult, the calm person from that space hears the hurt or insecurity behind the words. Where another might spiral into catastrophic thinking, they observe the worry as a passing mental event, a cloud in the sky of mind, not a prophecy carved in stone.
They have become the compassionate, detached observer of their own inner weather system, watching the storm clouds of anger or anxiety gather and roil without feeling compelled to become the storm itself.
They feel the full visceral force of the emotion. They do not numb it, but they understand its transient nature, temporary, informative, data-rich, but not directive. This emotional fluency means they can decipher the message without being enslaved by the messenger. Anger might be signaling a boundary has been crossed, a value violated. Sadness might be pointing to a deep attachment, something that truly matters and is worthy of grief. Fear might be highlighting an unknown, a need for preparation or caution. They listen to these internal signals with curiosity. Then they choose a response, deliberately, strategically, sometimes slowly, rather than enacting a reaction. This is why they can seem so preternaturally composed in the middle of chaos, only to process the full weight of it all later, in the safe privacy of their own company. It's not repression, it's impeccable, conscious timing. They've learned there is a season for feeling and a season for doing, and confusing the two only multiplies the suffering. This honed skill fundamentally transforms their perception of the world. While others see a chaotic personal affront in a sudden problem, the calm person has trained their perception to zoom out to a wider lens. They see patterns, cycles, and cause-effect where others see random malice. They see a lesson, however tough, disguised as a setback.
They see a closed door not as a final punishment, but as a firm redirection, an invitation to look for a window or to build a new door altogether. This panoramic, contextual perspective is their anchor in any hurricane. It allows them to lose a job and think, what does this make possible that wasn't before? Or face a betrayal and wonder, what is this teaching me about trust, discernment, and my own resilience? It's not naive positivity. It's pragmatic, seasoned wisdom. They've lived through enough endings to know, in their bones, that they are often merely camouflaged beginnings waiting to be recognized. And so, this cultivated calmness evolves into something far greater than a mere personal coping mechanism. It becomes a quiet, formidable form of power. In a room vibrating with reactive energy, the calm person is a gravitational center, a place of stillness that subtly draws things into order. They are harder to manipulate because their inner peace doesn't depend on external validation or approval. They are unpredictable and disarming to those who feed on drama because they refuse to provide the expected fuel of outrage or anxiety. Their silence, born of fullness rather than emptiness, can be more deafening and more eloquent than any heated argument. They protect their inner space with a fierce gentleness, understanding that it is the final frontier, the only territory they truly, absolutely control, their own attention, their own interpretations, their own values. This entire journey inevitably leads them to a life of profound, intentional simplicity. You'll find them committed to their small, sacred, non-negotiable rituals, the morning coffee savored in pure silence, the walk in nature without a phone, the few minutes of deep, diaphragmatic breathing before sleep, the journal where they untangle thoughts. These are not mere habits or routines. They are daily, tactile reinforcements of their inner architecture.
They are deliberate, micro-touches on the rudder of consciousness, constant minor corrections to stay aligned and upright in a world of turbulent, distracting currents. They understand that calm is not a one-time achievement, but a state meticulously maintained through these tiny, consistent acts of returning to center. Ultimately, the psychology of the always calm individual reveals a beautiful, poignant paradox. They are often the most deeply feeling, empathetic people in the room. Their calm is not an absence of feeling, but the full, conscious, brave experience of it, distilled over time into actionable wisdom. They have learned to let emotion move through them like weather systems, intense, changing, sometimes severe, knowing with certainty that even the most violent storm will eventually pass, expend its energy, and that the sky behind it, their essential observing self, remains clear, vast, and unchanging. They don't find peace by waiting for the perfect conflict-free conditions, for that day never comes. They embody peace, creating a small, steady oasis of clarity within the imperfect, noisy, and chaotic world. They have stopped fighting life, resisting its current, and started dancing with it, moving with its rhythm, sometimes leading, sometimes following, but always in a kind of graceful partnership.
They have, in the most profound sense, come home to themselves, to the quiet, resident consciousness beneath the noise of personality and reaction. And in their presence, you might just feel that silent invitation extended to you to stop, to breathe, to access your own pause button, and to discover that the stillness you seek has been within you all along, a deep subterranean well of peace, waiting for the surface noise to settle, so its refreshing depths can finally be heard and drawn from.